eat like slaves anymore because we're not slaves. If you cannot control what you eat, then you cannot control what you feel. Eat your largest meals in the middle of the day, not the end of the day.
What part the homeostasis plays, you're on your way to healing yourself. The homeostasis is the internal environment where your body is at its ultimate functionality for healing. Just keep in mind that everything that is happening to you is happening for you.
Hello. Happy Saturday. I am Carolyn, and you're in the Mind of Nature, hosted by Dr. Zarif, the nutritionist. And today's topic is how food addiction and disorders affect the Black community. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is Dr. Fareed Zarif. But first, let's go ahead and share the live. Share the live so we can have others be a part of the conversation. We already know how this goes. Dr. Zarif's gonna go ahead and give us great information that we need, and then we want to make sure that we're sharing it with others. So please share the live and have others be a part of the conversation. Dr. Zarif, you can join me here on stage. We can get started. This is going to be great. Hello.
All right. Hey, everybody, get ready. Let's go. Wake up. It's that time. Let's go ahead and get this done. We really want to start off saying thank you very much for your contribution of time and your contribution of those ideas and so many thank yous, and now we're starting to accumulate testimonials, and that's really great because it just means that what we're doing is working, and really appreciate that. Carolyn, thank you. We've been hanging tough. Whoa. Yeah. This time goes by, but we've been using it for a real positive cause. We know, that it's going to take time for people to really catch on to it, because there's been so many years where you have individuals that, just don't really look to themselves for the power. And the power is with yourself. The power is within yourself and about yourself. So we have to get that up. That's why we're educating people on nutrition, health, and fitness. But at the same time, what we're doing is turning you on to yourself, because you got to understand the value of yourself before you get into all these other things. We know everybody they wake up wanting gossip and entertainment, and we cannot, I say again, we cannot compete against all of that entertainment. But what we those risk of illness and disability and infection, and these are things, and of course, mortality. We really want to get all that we can out of this life, and the way to do that is to make better choices.
Absolutely. I agree. And you mentioned something as far as testimonials. For anyone that's watching, if Dr. Zarif has helped you in any way, I mean, he's been doing this for a long time. We all know that. And I saw the testimonial. I believe she's a nurse that you put up on Facebook of her before and after. Yes. I was like, oh my goodness, that's great. That's great information for people to see and to know that you're helping to save lives. She mentioned that you helped to save her life. So those are things that we'd love to hear and love to share with others so they can understand what's going on over here. And that is that Dr. Zarif is giving great information to save lives. So I just love that testimonial. So if there is anyone out there with testimonials like that, and you can share, if Dr. Zarif has helped you in any way, please go ahead and share that information.
Well, we're going to probably see most people on their time available on their breaks or something like that. If you can't be here with us live. But everybody is here with us live. We want to thank you for being here. And it was something too that came up the day we had. Oh yeah, discussion about be sure to like the things that we talk about in their gender specific. We're going to let you know that we're not OBGYNs or female specialists when it comes to um, dealing with medicine. But what we can do offer you, suggest to you what type of doctor you should be seeing, getting examinations, making sure you know your health numbers. And I don't have to be an expert on the female body to suggest to you a better way to take care of yourself. So I want to make sure we let you know that we have a disclaimer up that also explains that, because some people, as soon as they do something and they don't get favorable results, they're like, oh, he said that. Okay, we got everything here. We record everything that we say. We record our guests. We record even the information right there, so you can see it. So we just want to go back over that, because you can't sleep on that. There are people that are laying in the woods somewhere, peeking around, waiting until you slip up, and then they voila, gotcha. And we know we got you. So it's like we don't want to get in a situation where you do not feel safe. And so we just want to reiterate that you are safe. We want you to feel also safe about sharing the way that you feel after you learn these different techniques or these different principles and your different ways of eating. Tell us, Carrie, just a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing as far as changing, because I know when you and I first met, wow, now years, you were eating a different way. Not bad, but not as good as you're eating now. Do you want to share that?
Yes. Well, when let me see. When I first met you, I remember one of the first things that that changed when I met you. You were having a side conversation with someone else. And I always find this to be funny. You were having a side conversation with someone else, and you were saying, I heard you say, I can't believe people still eating white bread. And it was kind of like, what? And like, my ear just kind of like, what? And it was like, I figured or found out that, okay, white bread is not good. But at that time, I was eating white bread, white rice, just those things that right now I would just completely stay away from. So that's really just to start it off. I hadn't gone plant-based yet, so I didn't switch over yet. Still eat. I don't think I was eating pork, if I can remember correctly. That was one change that I had already made. But those are the things I just gradually change, because I think sometimes when we say go ahead and switch right away, go ahead and change right away, we think that you need to just go, as they call it, cold turkey, and that doesn't always work for everyone. You have to gradually switch over and make those changes, and then when you look back, you'll see, oh, I've made a huge difference in what I eat now, and I don't even eat any meat or any dairy, or I make sure I cut down on my sugar and my salt intake. So just those things, it's just a gradual thing, because it really is. It was really me taking a proactive approach to my health. I wanted to make sure that when I went to the doctor, they told me, oh, great job, keep it up, instead of saying you need to make these changes and you need to do something different because now you have, diabetes or high blood pressure or whatever the case may be. I was aware of that. So when I met you, and I remember you talking about, not eating meat and dairy and the things that it does to your body, that's when I just completely made that switch over to not eating any meat and any dairy. Why? Because I know that I want to take that proactive approach so I don't have to, or I can avoid illness. The things that I have control over, and the things that I have control over are those things that I put in my mouth, the things that are on the plate and I'm eating. So I know that was kind of long, but
No, that was perfect. That's great. I know that we're rushing to squeeze as much as we can get in here, but we got to hear, the what's happening in real time in real life, because sometimes you can get caught up on, well, what we're talking about may just reflect our you know business mind, or our entertainment side of this. And the entertainment side is it has its place too, but when it comes to really listening to what you have to say, is nothing more important than that, because you're living it. There's so many people that have started their journey, and just like you sharing that, that you started off, I did too. I haven't had pork since, I think I was 9 years old, and I started early, but that was because I had my half of my family was Islamic and the other half was Baptist.
mhm,
So I grew up learning all of La ilaha la ilaha la Muhammadan Rasulullah. The different, if coming from Detroit, Detroit or Michigan, especially Dearborn, Michigan, you have a large amount of, or the largest amount of Arabic speaking people in America
right.
live in Dearborn. So, I learned from the good people in that community, and it's just really it's really great to know that we come from, eating pork and just drinking faucet water, just drinking straight out the faucet, or not having this knowledge. Then we kind of we kind of look past it, but it is very important. So thank you for that, Care. We
Absolutely.
have Sanizi is here. Thank you very in Duque, and thank you so much for being here. And grand rising to you. It's so great to see you. Yeah, stay hydrated.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Da, 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 da. You know, definitely. That's because it is definitely hot. But that's again, again, when people have been abusing the earth for so long, and now we have ozone problems.
Hmm.
We got, a crisis here, and you got people say, "Oh, it's always been." No, it hasn't. There's never been a time that the glaciers have melted. It's
Mm,
never, we having volcanoes, tsunamis. We have the weather is going crazy with tornadoes and name it, all kinds of so-called acts of God. These are the things that this is what happens to our bodies too when we start throwing junk in our. We call ourselves kings and queens, but we eat just like just people that are absent of knowledge. And we have the knowledge. Once you get the knowledge, then you can put it into play to improve your life. So come on in and sign or leave some comments. Let's make this thing the best that we can today. When I say make this thing, I'm actually talking about let's share where we can actually get the best out of what we're sharing today.
yes.
Today, I'm going to share the knowledge of the food additives and disorders. So, okay, so what I'm going to do, I want you, in the meantime, while we're talking about this, is to do the best that you can, um, as far as some of the things that you can think of. What else are any questions that you can ask? or some of the notes that you take these notes down so you can start. Remember, we want to talk about things that you can start using immediately. This is not just for you just to listen to and then go right back to the way that you've always eaten. We want you to be able to use this information immediately. Now, we're going to discuss food addiction, and we're going to talk about some of the causes and the symptoms and the signs, along with some of the treatment. You know, there's a saying that let thy food be thy medicine and let thy medicine be thy food. But if that's the case, also let thy food have thy side effects, because when you are eating too much of this food that you think is medicine, or that you're using in a medicinal application, then you also, just like medication today, you have to understand that if you overdo it, then the very thing that we call thy medicine becomes thy side effect. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's all about that balance. Food is essential to human survival and as an important aspect of our wellness, in addition to a means of pleasure and enjoyment. Food not only provides needed sustenance, it also adds the gratification factor through various taste and smell and textures. In other words, your five senses. That's why the commercials appeal to our five senses: our sight, our smell, our taste, the way it feels, and the way that it sounds. So this is something that we have to keep in mind so that we don't become abusers. At the very end of that, I want to say, however, for many individuals, food addiction can become a serious disease, a serious disorder, as drugs are to a substance abuser. So, in other words, the food that you're eating, that addiction can become an addiction that is on the same level as a substance abuser. So don't think just because it's not in the form of a pipe, you can't smoke it, or, snort it, or the other ways, drop it as in a pill form and all that. Keep in mind that it can be very, very detrimental to you if you don't put into motion these positive ways of using food. And the positive way of using food is to use the food to make you better, to actually literally make you better, because the food that we eat is or becomes the blood, our bones, our tissues, our hormones, our hair, our nails. This is what we're doing. We're eating so that we can support all of these symptoms. The abusive use of addictive drugs is a medical and societal problem as old as recorded human history. Now, one of the particularly ancient reference to it, it may be found in the Hebrew Christian Bible, where it says in Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 and 23, the Semite patriarch Noah is described as becoming drunken and disheveled and naked with filthy and overindulgence of wine. In other words, the way that the Bible actually paints the picture or the imagination for Noah is that he appeared to be like what a wino looks like, or a person that's disheveled and hair all over the place, unshaven, and hasn't been, cleaned up for a while. Traditions are virtually all ethnic and cultural groups on the planet. And the ethnic groups and the cultural groups on the planet have their own way of eating. So a lot of times when you look at why do you eat what you eat, is connected right to what your how did you come up and who did you come up under. We have the tendency as children to follow what the grown-ups do, and whatever the grown-ups do, that's what we attempt to do. Our intention is to be more like them, because we always, when you're a child, you're constantly wanting to grow up. You're constantly asking, when is my birthday coming? And then when it hits here, woo, and it just shoots back. Woo, 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 woo. Now, one of the most striking features of drug addiction is how few chemicals are subject to abuse. If one takes all of the congeners of all known chemicals, the approximately 30 million chemical substances are known. So only approximately 100, including nicotine, ethanol, psychostimulants, opiates, barbiturates, benzodiazepines, and cannabinoids are addictive. And these are out of all of the 30 million, only 100 is addictive. So we find out which one those are addictive, then we start taking them, because we are looking for one thing, and that one thing that we're looking for is called euphoria. Now, euphoria, as you know, we can also produce euphoria by the foods that we eat. There might be a certain dish that you love. It might be a certain drink that you love to drink. But the euphoria just doesn't come from food. It can come from situations. Euphoria can come from a number of things. Think to yourself something that you're very, very connected with because it's delicious or sweet, or is you like the flavor. All of us have something that we really, really enjoy, and enjoying it makes us want it over and over again. That's why hamburgers continue to sell. They make the hamburger very tasty. They make the fries very tasty. And these are foods that they do a lot of damage. So we definitely want to make better choices. So what is the food addiction then? Since we talked about the addiction with the barbiturates and the amphetamines and so forth. For men and women suffering from an addiction to food, highly palatable foods, which are often rich in SOS. We talked about that all the time. The sugar, the oil, and the salt. And all of these can trigger chemical reactions in the brain that induce feelings of pleasure and satisfaction. And that is when we feel our brain, we start to secrete hormones like serotonin, the love-making hormones. And then you have dopamine, you have endorphins, and we have oxytocin. So all of these are hormones. They are called the feel-good hormones. And when we eat certain things and we drink certain things, or when we're in certain situations, we can produce this feeling of happiness and a whole charge of just joy, and everything is right with the world. This reaction has been explained as comparable to an addict's response to their substance of choice, as it activates the same brain reward system. It's the same brain reward system, not anything different. I used to think that too, and I say, no, it can't be as bad as that. But yes, it can be. And that's why we have specialists that actually treat the different addictions that people get from food. Food addicts become dependent upon the good feelings that are obtained from consuming certain foods. which often perpetuates a continued need to eat, or even when you're not hungry, it just is something that you want to maintain that feeling. Now these behaviors generate a vicious cycle, because like you want to get another one, just like in substance abuse. You want to keep that high for as long as you can. As the food addict continues to gorge upon foods that induce the pleasurable feelings, they often overindulge. And that is the big problem. Gluttony, just the overdoing it. And they eat beyond what is required for satiety and normal nutrition. Now, this can lead to several physical and emotional and social consequences, such as digestive issues, heart disease, obesity, low self-esteem, depression, and isolation. A food addict will often re-engage in these destructive behaviors, even amidst undesired consequences due to the need for induced feelings of pleasure. The feelings of pleasure, and that's what people go after when they smoke, when they snort, when they shoot up. All of these are some of the things that they do to get that, or to experience that pleasure. We're at the half hour mark. We're going to go to Carolyn. Carolyn, come up and reset, please. And we're looking good.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Zarif. Great information already. Thank you all so much for joining us. You are in the Mind of Nature, hosted by Dr. Zarif, the nutritionist. And today's topic, we are talking about how food addiction and disorders affect the Black community. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you have not already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Dr. Farid Zarif. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And also, for today's live, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Whenever we do those things, we let others know that this is a great live. It's a safe place to be, and that's the way the social media and the internet works. If they see people enjoying it, giving thumbs up, comments, liking, things like that, it would helps to send other people over to the live as well. As I've mentioned before, let's not keep Dr. Zarif a secret. Let's go ahead and share the information out with anyone that you know that may need this information. Remember, he's out here saving lives, and we need to go ahead and be a part of that as well. So thank you all so much for joining us here. And Dr. Zarif, you can come on up, and there you are.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much, Kara. So we get back to the brain's reward circuitry. Now, when we talk about the reward circuitry, we're talking about what the brain does, and that brain reward system. And now this was actually found or first discovered by Olds. That's the name of the discoverer, and Milner at McGill University in the early 1950s. So this is something that's been sought out for a long time, but they use like a rodent's brain to do a lot of tests on. So these weren't human that I know of anyway. But to different techniques were used. They found that animals would repeatedly return to an area of the laboratory in which they had received mild electrical stimulation of the subcortical structures anatomically associated with the medial forebrain bundle. I know that's a mouthful, but it comes down to the support for these findings were through rodents, through lab rats or mice. And to this day, these animals are used, the same kind of animals are used. So what does it mean to be healthy and fit? Well, they're not the same things, believe it or not, because when you're talking about fitness, a person can be fit Some people are just born fit. They have the muscles already in place, and other people are born even healthy. Everything is in place, and there's a great has a great immune system, and there's things that we have to do in order to build that immune system. But these are things that we can differentiate. Some people think like more people are finding out today that their children are actually, they think just because somebody appears to be young and vibrant, that they are, that everything physically is happening anatomically. That means all of the different systems are doing what they're supposed to do. But what happens is that when we don't get examinations, things can accrue. And after a while, over the years, we end up with chronic diseases, and you don't know what hit you. So it's back to reminding you of getting yourself examined. Now, you can have the physical, the fitness. You have some people that have the fitness and they have the wealth. Just like we have, for instance, one of the persons, one of our community heroes or sheroes would be Babette. Chef Babette is a great example of, she's fit and she's healthy. She's what she eats, and her working out and her displaying her body. And she does that. First of all, she's a real fun person. She's really a beautiful person. That's a great friend of mine. But she's showing us her physicality so that you can really see that there is a difference. Now, I'm sure that some of that can be given to her, or credit can be given to her gene pool. But she works out hard, and she's worked out a long time, and she's worked out hard. Do you imagine how much discipline that is? That's a lot of discipline. And it's really a beautiful, beautiful thing to think about, to have those kinds of examples that we need in the community so that people will step the game up. Now, of course, you can achieve both of these things, because being fit is bad. Being fit for some people naturally can be really bad for them. You know why? Because they get lazy, and then it's easy for them. They're already shaped so great, but then you have the person right next to them that's the same age, the same gender, eating the same food. And what happens? One person, the person that eats all the food, or both of them eat the same amounts of food, and they eat maybe at the same speed, or other little particular things that they do at the same time. They use the same seasonings and all that. But one gets large and the other one continues to look fit. That's what you call genetics, because we get a lot of our signals, or these genes that give us the different messages, and the also what we need to shape or to grow into what our parents and their parents were. So sometimes you'll have someone that might be your second cousin, and you find that, wow, I'm looking just like cousin Brenda. I'm the same size. Or you might find that there's somebody in the family with the big muscles, or their body is like that. And then you start studying the endomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph, and you're like, oh, I didn't know there were body styles. And the more you look into it, the more you realize that it has so much to do with genetics. Now, preserving your health and your fitness, a lot of things you've already heard me talk about. One is to exercise regularly. The other is to make sure that you're responsible for your behaviors. There are some things that you do that you know that you can improve, like, eating a lot of snacks. Some people, they have secrets. They don't allow their, for instance, their spouse, the husband or the wife, to know that really on the different breaks that they have at work, that they have a whole plate of these foods that aren't healthy, the ones that they wouldn't even eat around their spouse. Or it might be a lot of snacks. A lot of times you have these places that people work at, and maybe in the break room they have a huge pizza. Or sometimes on check day, Friday, somebody will order 5 different types of pizza, and they'll go in there. They have soda and pizza, and these are things that seem to be very fun. But over the years and the months, what happens is that we accumulate the kinds of foods that or the kinds of sicknesses and disorders and disease and addictions. And all of that just comes from making some of the decisions that we make. Now, the reward center, again, for addiction, all addiction drugs have been common that what they have in common is that they enhance, and that's directly or indirectly or even transsynaptically and dopaminergic dopaminergic rewards of the synaptic function in the nucleus, what are called the accumbens. So when you hear nucleus accumbens, we're going to talk about the function of that. The drug and the self-administration is regulated by the nucleus accumbens dopamine levels, and is done to keep the nucleus accumbens dopamine within a specific elevated range to maintain the desired hedonic or hedonic. Where was I here? And these are different levels that people actually can feel the high that they're reaching for. And for some classes of addiction drugs, like opiates, for instance, tolerate the tolerance to the euphoric effect it develops with the chronic use. So chronic use over all of the years, you'll have a graduation of the different drugs. Many people have been smoking a long time, and some of them have graduated to more powerful drugs than just the weed itself. And some of them go on, but there are other personalities that will stay there and just stay in that at that level. So everybody obviously doesn't become a dope addict. But here and now, we have different. We have opiates. We have just a epidemic. All of the different types of drugs that people use now, and these drugs are very effective, and they can threaten our lives. So that's why we're talking about that today, so that we can discontinue that same behavior and either get help. Make sure that you get help, and call that number, 988-988. Make sure you call that number. It's an emergency number, or also people that you can talk to that can help you with these addictions. Okay, so let's go down to eating disorders now. All right, so we'll start off with anorexia nervosa. I'm sure you've heard that before. This is when people severely restrict their calorie intake, which may include avoiding certain types of food. That's like a person looking at a plate Everything looks great in it, but they're very particular about what they eat and the amount that they eat. They also have a distorted body image. They imagine themselves not like they want to be. There's a certain body type that they consider as being perfect, and that's what they want to do. So they end up what is called body dysmorphia. They hate the body that they're in. They also can have intense fear of gaining weight. They don't want to gain weight. They feel that they're too large, even when they're tiny and meager and hardly just very, very small person. It's important to know that weight is not necessarily an indication of whether someone is living with an eating disorder, because there can be people that are very small and they don't necessarily have to have anorexia. They can also be that type of person according to their genetics. There are many people that are very petite and they're not anorexic. It all is a display of or extrapolated from that gene pool. So that's good to know. Now, when a person starts to get on these like bulimia or nervosa, then you will see like they do go into these little rituals that they have to make them throw up after they've eaten. And a lot of times the parents or the husband, the wife, the children think that, oh, mommy's getting better or dad is getting better. And he or she ends up in the toilet throwing up or hiding that for a while. You can really tell if you look at the inside of the teeth where a lot of the food and the acid, when all that comes up, it eats away at the sulcus. That's the gum line. Okay, so how we doing here? We're doing great. So I'll leave it there for. I wanted to remind you also that people with restricting type of loss, people with the restricting type lose weight solely through dieting and fasting and excessive exercise. So you have people that are doing the different types of fasting, but that fasting that they're doing is connected with their desire to lose weight. Other people fast for other reasons, like getting closer to God, being more disciplined, be more, lean. So many of those other reasons. People with the binge eating and purging type, they may binge on large amounts of food or eat very little. Purging may involve vomiting and taking laxatives or diuretics or exercising extremely. So or excessively. This is when they get into a regimen of overdoing it. Obsessive compulsive symptoms are often present. For instance, like many people with anorexia are preoccupied with constant thoughts about food. Now, some may obsessively collect recipes or hoard food. That's how severe they can get when you start to hoard the food. Now, some people hide food under the mattress so that they can wake up at night and they'll have food right there. Some people have their drinks up under the bed, or they'll have portable refrigerators that they'll have filled with their goodies, especially if you can afford those things like chocolates and other wine, different types of foods that foods that like the different sandwiches. And some people will get up in the middle of the night and say, I'm hungry, and start a full meal, like a dinner type meal. And they'll eat that. In about 2 hours, they're back to bed, sleeping on what they've just eaten. So it's a good idea to get away from the standard American diet way of eating. If you are eating like that, add a lot of vegetables to your dishes. Start in the morning eating your raw fruit. drinking water throughout the day, and that will begin you on the steps to eating correctly. If you're still stuck in that salt and fat and sugar, you can get by, but you just can't get away. The body just, there aren't any exceptions, although it looks like it. But when a person lives like, through their 40s and 50s, and then here they are in their 60s and 70s, then they start to find out how that type of eating has affected their body. Now, some people will say, once you're 80 years old, you don't have that much longer to live. Suppose you do. Suppose you have 20 years and you become a person that is over 100 years old, a centenarian. I think a centenarian. I always just say centurion, but I've heard it said like that, but it might be pronounced differently. But we're talking about people that are over 100 years old in age. And then suppose you're at 70 years old and then you start just eating recklessly, or you're at 80, but you got 20 years to go. You're going to have 20 years of suffering. Is a horrible way to live. And if you can do something about it, why not? Now, over time, you got people that's living with anorexia. They may experience like brittle hair and nails because they're not getting any nutrients, thinning of their bones, and infertility. You can't have a child like that, of course. And when those people do have children, you can tell the child suffer too. And they're usually having compromised length, like in their arms, and it might affect the way that their eye develop. It might have brain damage. It can have a long leg, a short leg. You can have intestinal damage, on and on. It can the tooth formation can be really bad. All of these are deformities, whether they use like what is politically correct or not. When you damage your fetus, it is deformed, and deformed just simply means the compromisation of the normal form of an individual or an animal. Let's go on here. How are we doing? Oh man, time is going by fast. I want to go down to, we went to anorexia nervosa. Another a disease is bulimia nervosa. Now, this is when people often eat large amounts of food in a limited period of time. Wow, isn't that specific? A binge eater episode usually continues until they become painfully full. I mean, it feels like the belly button is going to pop out, and they don't feel that they're full unless they get to that point. During a binge, they may feel that they cannot stop eating, or they can't control how much they're eating. Binges can happen with any type of food, but most commonly occurs with the foods that the individual usually avoids. So in other words, when a person, for instance, they can be a vegan and eating all of the foods that are very, very healthy. And then something occurs where their mind switches into this eat up all of the stuff that you usually don't eat, the stuff that you know is worse for you, like a person that eats whole food, plant-based, and then they just go on a binge of eating burgers and fries, and they just really going for it until they're at the point of gut discomfort. Now, common purging behaviors include like forced vomiting, fasting, using diuretics, using laxatives, using enemas, excessive exercise. Some people can't just do like 2 miles. They want to do 10, and they want to do all of those going over 6 miles. They want to do all of those going over, they have measurements. I don't need to say it, but anyway, they want to pick up the pace and they want to keep a high pace. And sometimes your computer, depends on which one, it'll show you that you're doing over 6 miles an hour. 7 miles an hour is even faster. So some people do that, and they'll go all the way up to 10. And some people actually, they'll run it fast, and then they'll jump off, and then they'll run back. And sometimes it's excessive. It doesn't look like that at first because you say, wow, that person's in shape, but it can be very, very harmful. So there are a lot of side effects on bulimia, and they also may include inflamed or sore throat. If a person complains, or you see that is starting to happen, if you are bulimic, or you don't know that you're bulimic, but you know that you do have some interesting eating habits. Also, swollen salivary or salivary glands. And these salivary glands, if they're swollen and there's pain in the back of your, or around your face and inside, it feels like, oh, maybe it's my tonsils. A lot of times, as a side effect of bulimia, that's what shows up. Worn tooth enamel. I talked about earlier about how people can damage their teeth with all that acid from them throwing up. Acid reflux, gut irritation, dehydration, even the imbalance of levels of electrolytes, because you're getting rid of, it's called reverse peristalsis, where you're spitting up all of this food, and you're losing different electrolytes, which are, these are in your fruit and vegetables, but a lot of your electrolytes you can get from the mineral water, such as sodium, potassium, and calcium. And without a balance of these electrolytes, it can cause stroke or heart attack. And that's what they don't tell you. It's not just like you lost some electrolytes. You're talking about stroke, and you're talking about heart attacks. And this is very, very serious. So I'm going to squeeze in one more, and then this way you have you can take away all of this. I'm going to go to the next one. Let me see. Binge, pica. I'm not going to go into pica. Pica is that disease where people eat dirt and toilet paper, and they also eat, let's look at that just for a second here. They eat paper, soap, chalk, soil, dirt, ice, cloth. They eat wool, pebbles, laundry detergent, and corn syrup. Can you imagine that? That's crazy, isn't it? And it's called pica. And you see this dish right here with all the nuts and bolts and dirt and chalk. All of that is displaying a meal for a person that has pica. Now, people with pica, they eat food too, but along with that, they have these cravings for the weirdest things. So I'll go back now. I want to go here to the BD. Now, BD, it stands for binge eating disorder. And the binge eating disorder involves eating large amounts of food rapidly. It's very much like bulimia. And until they keep on eating, just like in bulimic people, they'll eat until they're so full that it's uncomfortable. And they'll eat, of course, until they're full. But the thing about binge eating is that even when a person is full, they'll continue to eat, although they're satisfied. They know they got all the food that they can eat, but they'll continue doing it. So when you see these different videos of people eating these large amounts of food, they're already full, but they'll continue eating. They've been used to doing that a long time, and now they're getting people to view it. They're entertaining people with a way that they like to eat. And since they're getting a reward for that, the people that are looking at it, then they keep doing it, and they get sicker and sicker as they push to make something look very normal. People with BED may eat more ultra processed foods than whole foods, and this may increase the risk of complications such as heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, everybody, because it is going to add me up here, take this off. But thank you very much for being here today. I know that went really, really fast. Goodness, we got like 60 seconds left. But thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Kara.
Yes, Dr. Zarif, there is a question that I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to put it up here on the screen from Yvette. She's asking or saying, good morning. I met you last week at Mount Tabor.
Tabor, yes.
Yes, Tabor. Had bariatric surgery 2 years ago. Lost 80 pounds. How can I keep the weight off?
Well, it was great to see Yvette. And yes, Yvette is over at the Mount Tabor Missionary Baptist Church. And it was just very, as a matter of fact, I shared it with the Kara about how beautiful everybody was and how well they treated me like a friend, a family. And that was very good. Thank you so much. Yvette, when it comes to you already down to 8 pounds. Now, some of that can be attributed to the bariatric surgery. I don't know if you got what's going on?
You said 8 pounds, but it's 80 pounds, 80.
Okay. Oh, thank you for making that correction. Yeah, the 80 pounds is beautiful that you came down. That is remarkable. Now, how can you keep it off is by changing your behavior or changing your way of living, changing your eating lifestyle. So what are some of the things that you hear? Now, I'm going to tell you 4 things that you can do to maintain this and keep it off. Number one, you want to change your environment or improve your environment. That means to make sure that you're in a peaceful environment. Now, if I mention something that you're already doing, just check that off. But you want a peaceful environment. This is important for all of us. If you're living in a home where you are catching hell and you can't rest and you're being disturbed, you're being interrupted, then that isn't a very productive environment. You want to change that. Number 2, you want to eat healthy foods. Find out more about you can go onto drzarif.com and find out more about, there's a free chart there that you can just simply download, and you can get this chart and start following it. If for some reason you can't get it, let me know and I'll get one to you. Excuse me. The other thing is that, so the eating is very important. Make sure you stop eating all of that large meal, especially. That's the hard one. Eating a large meal and then going to bed in less than 3 hours before that food breaks down. And that can definitely cause you big problems. Eat more raw fruit in the morning. And with your hot cereal, you can also eat that in the morning, but discontinue eating anything that is ultra processed or refined foods. These are foods that are made to look differently, taste differently, and to last on the shelf for as long as you want them up there. So be very aware of that. Stay away from excessive amounts of salt, oil, and sugar. SOS. Get rid of that, reduce it. You can still eat healthy, but you have to reduce the amounts of oil. And that's people that cook in the oil, or people that just throw all that oil and vinegar on their salad as a salad dressing. It can overdo anything. So that's another one. We got one more, and it's sleep. Making sure that you get enough sleep. Sleeping is where you heal. And from all the exercises that you'll be doing, the exercise that we talked about, doing daily exercise. Let me also add that you don't have to exercise all day long, nor do you have to exercise all at once, 45 minutes all at once. You don't have to do that. But you can do little bitty 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. You got 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. And you work it out and you take your time and build up. And that's how you will remain healthier and not regaining that 80 pounds back as many people do. So stay in touch with us also so that you can hear positive and educational information, and this will help you. Surround yourself with that. Hey, Dr. Zarif is like, let's go. Okay. And this is something that is here for you. This is why I do it. So thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. And you're more than welcome. And let's put that to work. Anybody over here on Instagram? Let me see. Instagram. All right. We have the Sweet Pea. Yay. Congratulations. The Sweet Pea is now expecting a very wonderful gift in the bun. Is really she's having a little girl, and we're really excited about it. Wow, what a great reveal. We saw your video and it was great. So congratulations to Sweet Pea and Eric for this wonderful addition to our world, beautifying our world. Thank you so much. And I want to also thank Jedwad 330. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you being here. This really makes the show all the better. Oh, he said thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I'm speaking to Chantel. She's very a sweetheart. Wow, what a human. I mean, really, she definitely she's worthy of a beautiful child. I can't wait to be that child's uncle as soon as she okay, hey, Uncle Z here, baby. What great parents. What great parents. Thank you very much, everybody. We got to get going. I'll be speaking today in California. And
in California.
Pardon me?
You said in California.
Oh yeah, I'll be speaking in LA. Wow, I'm really pumped up, I guess. But we're speaking on dementia. If your group and your church or your club wants to have an innovative, educational, spirit uplifting, science related evidence presentation, give us a call, get in contact with us, and we'll be there. We don't wait until some holiday. You can do it now. And I really want to thank Mount Tabor for inviting me, because that's really rare. That's really rare. I had no idea that the churches were so particular about the guests or people, even when you volunteer. Of course, I don't, if I'm doing something, I figure that there should be remuneration from it. So that's the way I do that. But anyway, that's my little personal thing. I think that everybody should win. So thank you very much. We got 15 comments. Oh man, this is good. Let me say hello to my Leah. Thank you very much for being here. Wow, I was all into it. And Yvette, again, thank you so much for being here. Suzette, thank you. It's so great to see you. Shirley, Gentle Smart is in the house. Shirley, have you heard about like the shortage of nurses now that like their nurses are sought out like crazy now because there's a huge shortage. And even doctors now, first of all, in America, only 5% of all the doctors in America are Black. First of all, we're super rare. So when I hear Dr. Zarif, that makes me really responsible. It's not something that I take for granted. So believe me, I really appreciate that. I want to say hello to Ty Z and oh, this is 2UZ, I think. And Carolyn, that's my Leah. Thank
She's
you.
saying thank you, Z
Yeah,
and
thank
Carolyn.
you. I want to say hello to Ty Z. Woo!
Oh gosh.
It's like, see, that's what I get. That's what I get from talking about older people with their, yeah, turn on the machine. I need to stop. Anyway, thank you. Great to see you, my Leah. Love you too. And
Yeah.
we're gonna get out of here, everybody. Let me see. Did we get everybody? Shanizi, thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate. Look, everybody, we will see you next Saturday at 8 a.m. live streaming on YouTube Live, the Dr. Farid Zarif channel. Check out our. If it's new to you, check it out. We have a wonderful website. We'll be adding more merch to it also. That's at drzarif.com. DRZARIF.com. Check it out. Please, please, please honor us with a subscription. Subscribe on YouTube so we will be able to be in contact every time we are on the air. We want you to be there with us. Okay. So thank you so much. Before I go, I want to say thank you, Carolyn, for all of your help. Go ahead and let's go ahead and sign us off. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Zarif. And thank you to everyone that joined us here in the Mind of Nature. Our mission is to bring awareness, listen to your feedback. And now it is time for you to take action on the information that you heard here today. Dr. Zarif is here to elevate, update, and educate us on the information, all the great information that he has on nutrition. Remember, we're here every Saturday, 8 a.m. PST. So thank you all so much for joining us. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is Dr. Farid Zarif. Until next time, thank you, everyone.